here is really mental. I don't even know if you guys can hear me at all over the sound of the exhaust. Alright, so this is the noise at cold start, and I just talked outside of the car, and I'm not even sure if you guys could hear anything of what I was saying because of how loud it is. Alright, so I'm going to try to keep things pretty short and just give you guys an overview of my thoughts about JB4 after living with it in my M135i for about 4 months, I'd say. Alright, so the first big problem, as you could just hear, is the cold start, and that's actually the main reason why I started looking into other things than JB4, because JB4 has no support to disable or to quiet the cold start function on these cars. And this car already had the MPE performance exhaust from the beginning, and cold starts were loud, but it was okay. But then I went catless downpipe and it got louder, but it was still not, it was loud, but it was not like extremely like obnoxious. And now recently I went with the MPE catless downpipe and the resonator lead in the middle, and the cold starts are just ridiculous. So this is what got me thinking, looking into options to disable the cold start. And this is how I found out about MHD, which is new. Well, it's not new, but they added new features which allow you to disable the cold start, disable the kick down when you give it full throttle, that the automatic box shifts down to the lowest gear possible, and all those kind of things. So that got me interesting, and the more I started looking into the MHD instead of the JB4, I really started feeling like the MHD could be the better option for me. So right now this is the last drive with the JB4 on the car. I'm going to remove it tomorrow, and JB4 is going to be sold on Friday, which is the day after tomorrow. So I just wanted to get a few shots, last video with JB4 on it. I'm just warming up the car right now, giving you guys some thoughts, and just trying to register as objectively as possible how the car drives right now, the speeds. So I'm going to try to record solely my dash in a couple of minutes, and give you guys some accelerations, like second gear, third gear accelerations. And then after I took the JB4 off and got the MHD software, I'm going to do it again to see if I can see any difference on the dash in terms of speed, and also give you guys my opinion if I can feel any difference in terms of smoothness or in terms of jerkiness, because that's another problem. I don't really know if it's a problem, because it happens, it really doesn't happen often, but sometimes I get a bit of a jerk when I shift under heavy acceleration with the JB4, and I read a lot of people who are saying the same thing about the JB4, that it sometimes is jerky and the power delivery isn't really smooth. And also my previous car, my Megane S, was tuned, was flashed properly by a tuning company, and the power delivery was really smooth, and as soon as I stepped on the gas, I had no lag, no turbo lag, nothing, and it just went. And the first thing I noticed when I installed the JB4 and we did that drive was when I put my foot to the floor, the car hesitates for like 1 second, but the second takes long when you put your foot to the floor. And I asked the installer, like, is it normal? And I said, yeah, it's totally normal. What I hear people say that installed the MHD is that they no longer have that lag, and they all talk about, oh yeah, the JB4 has like a slight second of lag, but the MHD really doesn't, and it really becomes a powertrain. People refer to it. So I really don't know. I don't even know if this is the right solution, the right choice for me to sell my JB4, because I'm quite liking the power, and I'll go into a few more options that JB4 offers in a second that are really quite good. So it's not all bad. Well, I hope the sun isn't blinding you guys too much. So it's not all bad, but there are some things that I think can be improved, and I hope MHD has that solution for me. So the first thing I really like about JB4, and which was one of the main reasons why I went to JB4 and not just a flash tune, is because in an M135i, although it's a performance car, there is no oil temperature. There isn't even a water temperature gauge, so you never know if the car is up to operating temperature. You just have to guess. And what I did in the start, I just drove it for like 10 minutes, and then I just said, yeah, let's go, and drove it. But in cold weather, maybe it was not totally up to operating temperature. With the JB4, you get a gauge on your cell phone, and you just have it in your car, and you can really choose between like 30 or 40 parameters, which one you want on your phone. So you can have a permanent display with these 6 parameters. You can see the oil temperature, the intake temperature, and really everything you want you can see with the JB4 through your OBD scanner. So that's really one of the big pluses for me. However, I don't know how accurate the readings are, because a lot of people say the intake temperature shouldn't go above 30 or 4 degrees, and when I'm doing any type of spirited driving, I'm seeing my intake temperature rise to up to 60 degrees Celsius, and apparently to a lot of people that even though I don't have an intercooler, that shouldn't really be the case, especially because I'm not really pushing the car to the extreme limit or anything. I'm just driving sporty spiritedly. So that's the only thing I want to mention with that, but really the oil temperature really gives me a good indication that the car is up to operating temperature, and that's all I wanted to know really. In terms of power delivery, I really can't complain. That the power is great. This also is the X-Drive version, so I don't have to worry about traction or have any issues with that any of the time really. I can put my foot down in second gear in the rain and it just accelerates and I don't lose traction. The only thing that's annoying, and that I don't know is due to the JB4 or just in general to this car or to whatever, is that sometimes you get a jerk, especially when you drive the car really hard. Sometimes when I go from first to second gear or from second to third under full acceleration, so when the car is really getting used hard, you get like 1 second or half a second that it cuts the power and that you feel like a big jolt, because the car just stops and then it instantly takes back the power. So I'm really hoping that the MHD software fixes that for me, because that's something really annoying, and people who drove with me also noticed it when it happened. So it's not just something that's in my head. People really say like, whoa, yeah, you can feel the car hesitate for a second. So that's pretty annoying, but it only happens like once in 100 acceleration, so it's really rare. I can't even demonstrate it on video because it's so rare that it happens, but it does, and I don't know, I think it shouldn't, and I think a proper flash might help with that. So that's that. What's good about the JB4 is that you have all these types of maps. You have the stage 1 map, you have the stage 2 for decat, intercooler, you have custom map, everything. Mine currently is running on map 6, which is a custom map, and it's, in terms of power, it's everything I can ask for. The installer estimated it between 400 and 420 horsepower. I think it will be more towards the 400 mark in terms of how fast the car feels. But really, I barely can even use it on these roads. As you can see right now, I just have car in front of me which is driving 50 kilometers an hour all of the time. So in terms of power, it's really good. So the biggest problem, and now I'm going to slowly move on to the MHD, is the things that JB4 doesn't offer. And the main thing, as I already mentioned, is the cold start lead. Cold starts are really obnoxious, and from what I've heard, the only reason that cars have a cold start function is to warm up the catalytic converters quicker. And my car is decatted anyway, so I don't even have a catalytic converter, so there's literally no use for the cold start function whatsoever in my car. So that I really want to disable it. I have to wake up and leave the house at 6 and 7 o'clock often in the morning, and it really is just obnoxious. It's totally, yeah, it's disrespectful for the neighbors, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get into trouble with it being so loud now recently. So that's the main reason. Other things you can do with the MHD, as I said, is remove the kick down. Something else is you can actually adjust your burbles from the exhaust, so you can put them softer, louder, longer, shorter, and you can really customize them the way you want them. So that it's not really like a big thing or a big reason for me to go MHD, but it's just something fun to play around with. For example, when we have a road trip or a meeting one day, you can load a map and just adjust the burbles so they're louder or longer, just have some fun. And then on normal days when you're just driving to work and school, you can just set them to normal or lower even. So that's a big one. And then the biggest one that really convinced me, apart from the cold start, is the actual performance, because there's a lot of people who recently went MHD who already had JB4 just like me in the situation I'm right now. Everything I've read about that is that the MHD power delivery is so much smoother, and that because of it, the smoothness, it's also faster, the car. They told there's no turbo lag, so there's not the second of hesitation, and because it's so smooth, the car doesn't break traction in the rear-wheel drive cars, which will also help me out just because of the smoothness, not because of the traction issues, of course, because it's the X-Drive variant. But still, the real difference is that the JB4 is a piggyback, which just sends some wrong information to the ECU of the car, and MHD is actually a true flash, so it writes the correct values into your ECU. So the ECU, apparently it's a safer method of tuning your car. The only issue I see, oh my god, an exhaust. I don't really know. This is the first time I'm filming with my GoPro session at the moment, so I don't really know how the audio will sound with the exhaust. But it really sounds good at the moment. Alright, so the MHD, the only big problem with MHD is it's a real flash, so it will always be detectable. When you bring your car to a dealership or something happens where your insurance gets involved, when you have the JB4, you can just remove the box, and it's really it's a lot less noticeable. But with the MHD, when they read your car with the OBD player, they can see the amount of times the car ECU was flashed, so they will always notice that the car is flashed. So that's one problem. The second downside is the MHD software. You buy it, it's way cheaper than JB4. It's like 400 euro in total, whereas the JB4 was 800 euros in total with the Bluetooth module and everything. But the good thing about the JB4 is like what I'm doing right now. I'm tired of it, I don't want it anymore. I just take it out and I sell it for 500 or 600 euros. So the JB4 in total only cost me 200 euros if you look at it that way. Whereas the MHD is a software, so it's bound to your VIN number on your car. So when you sell it, you lose it. It's gone. That's it. I'm just gonna wait a second. Okay. And that's 140, and you have to brake because of so that's what I mean in terms of power. You really can't complain about the JB4. in any gear, in any situation, if you need power, you just put your foot down and the car goes. So that's not the problem or the main cause of going MHD. The last thing I'm going to mention is JB4 has the option and has the support to get upgraded turbos, and that's also a thing which isn't the case for me, because I'm not going to upgrade the turbos. I'm happy with this kind of power. I don't want any more, and I'm driving with this power for like 4 months now, and it's not like that I'm getting used to it or that I'm gonna want more in a couple of months. I even think the car is too fast sometimes, because you really, as you just saw, I accelerated for like 4 seconds and I had to brake because I was going 70 over the speed limit almost. So it would be ridiculous to now say, yeah, I'm going to upgrade my turbos, I'm going to get another 100 horsepower. So MHD doesn't offer support for upgraded turbos at this moment. Well, you can flash into it, but you can just buy a map pack from MHD that supports it. But that's totally fine with me. MHD claims 390 horsepower with just a downpipe, and 430 horsepower with a downpipe and a intercooler. So maybe I might go intercooler to get that 40 extra horsepower, I don't know. But as things stand right now, I'm just going to purchase MHD, turn off the cold start, load map stage 2, remove the kick down, and play with the burbles a little bit, and then feel how the power delivery is, how smooth it is, and I'll update you guys if it really is a benefit and if it's really better or feels smoother. I'm thinking which road I'm gonna take. Okay, alright, so I'll make another video. I think I probably can't even drive the car stuck right now, because it'll feel slow probably, because I'm used to this power. So I think I'm going to get the MHD as soon as possible. So hopefully I'll be able to make the follow-up video in the next week.